Wish I Would Have Known. Hi, and thank you for joining the Wish I Would Have Known podcast, or as we like to call it, WIWHK. I'm your host, Troy Vera. I'm inspired by the variety of surprise twists and turns that people have taken in their careers, and will continue inviting them to share their stories with you. Our guests represent diverse lines of business. You'll meet social workers, symphony musicians, racehorse owners, radio personalities, human resources leaders, commercial real estate lenders, filmmakers, and school principals, just to name a few. Join us and hear what has worked for them and what might just spark a fire in you. This podcast, as always, is going to be a conversation between friends and peers, nothing too crazy or fancy. We'll be sharing life's experiences in the interest of helping you grow and succeed in your current or even a new career field. We're spending the afternoon with Dominic Robinson, who's going to share a little bit with us about his career as a comedian. Hi, Dom.
Hello. What's going on, Troy?
Just loving life. There's a little opportunity to not take yourself so seriously, and I think a career like yours really reminds us of that. So why don't you give us a quick little introduction of who you are?
All right. Well, I'm Dominic, and my stage name is Eclectic Enigma. I started doing comedy for real, like stand-up comedy, about 5 years ago. I did YouTube videos, sketches, and skits before that. I'm from Illinois originally. I moved to Memphis after I graduated college in '05, and I've been here ever since. I got 2 kids and a wife, and I do my comedy when I can because I have another job, but the ultimate goal is to do that for real and be done with the 9 to 5 grind, which it actually ends up being like a 7:30 to 7:30 grind.
Whenever work needs to be done. I imagine that in your normal 9 to 5 as a salesman, do you pepper in comedy into that? Does it ever become sort of a door opener or a way to maybe bring people's walls down a little bit instead of just, I'm reading from my script, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Do you bring that in and smooth out the conversations?
I definitely do. It makes me human. I don't ever want to be robotic. I'm me, and I want to be me as much as I can in every aspect of my life. So I've actually scared higher ups who have come and like done ride-alongs. They were like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" And then when they saw it worked, because I'm being a genuine guy and this funny stuff comes naturally to me. I'm quick with it. I've been told that all my life, and it doesn't matter who I go to. I find a way to connect to them on a human level and a humorous level. I haven't met too many people that don't want to at least laugh or chuckle at something. So yeah, it definitely helps me in my career in doing those things. So I love that I'm able to do that, and it helps me kind of brush up on some stuff. So crowd work isn't hard for me to do at all because I'm doing it daily. I'm daily meeting different people and going through talking to them and trying to make them laugh. So yes.
Just don't turn it into a roast or maybe a heckle battle.
I've only done that with one person, but the vibe was there. Like they started with me, and when they start with me, then I'm gonna, but not to the point where like they want their ticket back from the situation. No, not that bad. Just like you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, I'm gonna rib you a little bit, something like that. Something that they know they're gonna get ribbed about for being anyway. Then I'll do that. Or I might talk about their current carrier and make fun of them. Because most of the time when they want to switch, they're mad at their current carrier anywhere. So stuff like that works. But yeah, definitely a fun time.
Sort of lightweight, safe stuff. I was talking a little bit about roasting, and I know that's a lot of what you do there too. You get on stage and have head-to-head battles, and you've won a few, right, of these competitions over the years. So tell me about those competitions.
There was something called the Memphis Next Top Comic, and it was earlier in my career where I got in, and it was a 3-round competition. So you had a 7-minute round of like stand-up. Then they did something unique where they take a little break and they'd ask the audience for different topics. And then they pick 2 of us to go against each other, and we wouldn't have long. Like you'd have a minute to talk about whatever it was, and it wouldn't be normal stuff, crazy. Like really, just they would take the most off the wall things that somebody would throw out there as a topic and make us come up with something funny about it. And then the last round was the roast round. So it was 6 people competing. 2 would be knocked out in the first round, 2 in the next, and then last 2 would roast each other, and then the audience would pick it. And they were using the sound device to decide who won. So I won 2 months in a row. The 3rd month, I made it to the last round. And me and this guy was a veteran comic, so I'm not sure how he got on there anyway, but it was fine. I stood my ground, but he ended up winning. It was like, if the sound meter was 120 for me, it was 120.2 for him. So it kind of made me like, whoa, I can actually do this, because sometimes when you're doing something that requires a skill, some people get imposter syndrome. And I think there have been points in my career doing comedy where I felt like, man, do I really belong here? You know, it hasn't happened often, but it has happened. But at that point, I was like, okay, I'm early in the game. And I like to be, whatever I'm doing, I like to be a student of it. So if I'm cooking, I want to be the best cook I can be. Or I'm working out, I want to work out the best. If I'm fixing something, I want to make it look the best. If I'm painting, all of those things, I don't like to half-ass stuff. So as I delve into comedy and read and do my research and try to do studying and look at old stand-ups of comics who have done it and made it and try to tweak who I am or get better at what I'm doing, and just listening to motivation from different comics, it's kind of made me who I am.
So you're talking a little bit about reading and staying up on topics and watching some of the older footage. Is there something that you always just go back to? Either a certain topic, I know we don't necessarily want to get too specific because some things are hot issues, but is there a certain comic or an album that's just always on your playlist? Remember, there was this kid when I was growing up, he had a Red Fox album, and he would always play it in the driveway. Everybody, all the neighborhood kids would come around, and those who couldn't have it for themselves would go over to Ryan's house and listen to it. And one guy ended up with a career in comedy later on down the line. But is there maybe a handful of these movies, TV shows, books, or that source material that you just kind of go back to hit on the heavy bag and get in the lab?
Yes, Red Fox is actually one of those people, believe it or not. He was just so funny, witty, and raw, which I love. So going back and listening to some of the things he's done, because I didn't listen to any of his stand-ups until I got older. The Red Fox I knew was from the TV show, Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
He was hilarious on that. But going back and listening to raw Red Fox, wow, he's amazing, and I don't think he gets his due amongst a lot of people, but I know comics know he was that guy. So he's one. Bernie Mac is another. He, to me, is one of the best to have ever done it. I go to his stand-up. I Ain't Scared of You. I don't know if you've seen it when he was on Def Comedy Jam. I Ain't Scared of You. Oh, my God. This day, I don't care how many times I've seen it, I am cracking up at it. And just how he stood tall and what was going on. And I read about why he went out there like that, but it was like, wow. He commanded the room. He was funny. His punches knocked you out. And to this day, I still go back when I'm feeling a certain way and just kind of like, okay, this is how I need to be when I'm on stage to kind of give me some motivation. So he's another one that I will go. There's some Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, and Pryor kind of made comics who they are. And then you got Dave Chappelle. It's funny with him because he's gone from a regular kind of comic to this storyteller, and his storytelling to where he gets to his punch, and nobody's doing it like him, in my opinion, at this point. I've been other comics, you got Carlin and stuff like that, but him, the way he goes about the story these days to get to his punch and how he comes back up, man, it's just, there's quite a few. My stage name is Eclectic Enigma, and I talk about everything. I love to be able to talk about any and every subject. If you want to go political, you want to talk about nerdy and geeky stuff, you want to talk about movies, you want to talk about cars, you want to talk about whatever, tattoos. I can try to talk to people about any and everything. And I feel like if there's something I can't talk to you about, then you can't be from planet Earth. That's how I feel like if we can't find one thing to talk about, because even with music, I listen from everything. So, I mean, there's bluegrass, there's rock, there's pop, there's R&B, there's jazz fusion, there's alternative, I'm all in there. You ain't like nobody? I can't talk to you about no artists. You know what I mean? Like, something's going on here. So, yeah.
It always astounds me when I'm trying to get to know somebody, party conversation, or a new coworker, whatever, and I bring up the topic of music, and they say something like, I'm not really into music. I mean, I just have to roll my chair back, take a deep breath, and say, really? Are you not into any kind of music? But I mean,
right, you don't even like Sonic or Mario? You don't like Mario's theme music, or you don't like nothing? Nothing? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Something's going
There's
on.
there's got to be something. So if somebody was kind of get to know you, what would be those things that maybe is sort of a hidden talent, a skill, a pursuit? And you talked about music and obviously the love of comedy, but is that one more thing that somebody would just kind of strike up a conversation with you about?
I guess my hidden talent would be, and not a lot of people know it because when I'm on social media, I'm trying to make people laugh. I don't really talk too much about my personal life or what's going on. Because to be honest, most people don't care. They would be nosy, but they don't really care. It's unless they know you. So I'm a gamer and I'm a really good gamer. I feel like if I was not married and or having to work the 9 to 5, I would be a gamer and then I would be a comedian. I'm sure you're familiar with T-Pain, but he said he makes more money streaming than he did when he was doing music, which is crazy. But I've been gaming since, I don't know, Mario 1, but I have all my old stuff and a lot of people don't know that. So I got from NES all the way up to PlayStation 5 and Series X. I got a PC, but it doesn't matter if I'm playing a fighting game or a role RPG or MMORPG or a first person shooter, third person shooter. I trip my kid out, my oldest 18, going on 19, and it doesn't matter what we pick up. How do you do this? Or how do you still know how to do this on this old game? So that would be a hidden talent. And I do voices sometimes too. I have not incorporated them into the stage life, but one of the things I would do when I used to work in a store, I would answer the phone like one, I'll do a Jamaican voice. Thank you for calling. Actually got me in trouble one time too. That's a funny story, but yeah, I would just, whatever voice I felt like doing, I would do that. So that's another hidden talent. People that know me, know I mess around like that, but I don't know if anybody on social media knows that I do that because I have not incorporated any of it into the stage presence. So
Well, there's a certain dotted line too that you as a performer and maybe somebody out in public needs to maintain that sense of this is mine. My family is mine. I don't really present them to anybody. I don't joke about my wife and kids. This is mine. And your career, or whatever those little special things are about you, and you have to, because otherwise I think you could lose yourself in the quest for becoming, famous or notorious or recognized. And a lot of professional athletes, even after their first or second year, I hear that they just want to go to the froyo place with their kids without being mobbed for an autograph or a selfie. So I think you performing under your stage name and still keeping a few of these things special just to yourself is probably really good for your mental health. You don't feel like everything's out there, so everything's fair game.
it's funny you should say that because I've thought, man, if the creator allows me and I'm put enough effort in and work to blow up and become big, I would hire somebody who's a makeup artist so I can just go out and nobody knows who I am. Because, there are times where I'll be like, okay, it's fine. I'm in the mood to do autographs or whatever. But there are times where it's like you said, I want to go get some froyo and not, or I want to walk in Walgreens and get a bag of chips and not be hounded. You know what I mean? So I've thought about like a full-time makeup artist to make me look like something I'm not so I can just go do something normal. I haven't made it there yet, but I've thought about it.
It's probably also why some people happen to wear masks when they perform. It's usually more musicians and DJs and that, but it's just that anonymity. You have no idea who I am. I'm the person standing next to you in the grocery store line, but I'm a virtuoso guitarist or famous DJ or whatever, but roll in secret. What does drive you to continue to succeed despite maybe some of the pitfalls of just becoming too famous?
For me, I think there are times in life where you've done something and you feel like, wow, this is really what I could see myself doing for free, or I love doing this. I love this feeling. So I've always enjoyed making people laugh. But the first time I got on stage and I had a woman who almost peed on herself, I was like, yeah, this is it. Cause it was like, this is who I am. In that particular, that night, I wasn't even getting paid. I was just hosting folks is another skill set that you gotta have because you can do your set, but being able to host and come behind folks, keep the audience warmed up and not losing people is another skill set. So hosting is something I like doing too. And I was just hosting that night, but I had her cracking up laughing because this comedian bombed really bad. And I was like, okay, we can't lose post. And I did. And this lady almost peed on herself. She said, she's falling over. And I was like, you know what? This is what I'm called to do. I don't know about anything else, but this is it. So yeah.
I'm not responsible for personal injury as it relates to my jokes.
Mm-mm.
So you're talking a little bit about being a host and filling in the gaps. Do you do something just backstage for warm-ups? Is there a vocal stim that you do? You go into the bathroom and tell your jokes to the mirror? What do you do to warm up?
I actually listen to music. I don't,
Sing
I
along,
try
or you
to,
just kind of get the voice, the face, just kind of stuff?
because by the time I get to that day or an hour before a show or whatever, I've done all these stuff you were just talking about. Set it in front of the mirror, set it while I'm driving. I've worked it out. Stuff contingencies. Like I'm all over the place with that stuff. And sometimes in life, I feel we overthink or we overdo. And I feel like if I continue to do that when I got there, that's how it would be. I'm overthinking this. Sometimes comedy is just the simplest thing ever will make people laugh. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, because again, my name is Eclectic Enigma, I might overthink some things. It's one of the things I'm trying to work on. Because your audience, depending on who the audience is, because I found there's different rooms, there's different people, there's different cities, there's different states, and folks are just different. So you might have a joke that can work in any room, but you got to pivot it. So for me, when I go there and I've done all that already beforehand, I'm just listening to something light and kind of just zenning my way through before I get on stage. And then probably if there's somebody going before me, then I'll just listen to them because you don't want to ignore what just happened. They might bomb, they might kill, they might have messed with this couple in the front row and you don't want to do that going behind them, messing with the same couple unless it's like really quickly because of whatever. But you want to be able to read the room and you can't do that if you're doing other stuff. So that's how my process goes. Some music and then right before I'm kind of just seeing the layout, see what's going on, and seeing how the room is.
So with somebody who's just, say, in the audience and maybe they've had too much or they just show up in a really bad mood and they are just a heckler that won't go away. I'm sure there's the staff there who may escort them out, but you might want to keep them around a little bit for some of that comic relief. Have you had somebody maybe in a show or a showcase or whatever who just crossed the line? How do you deal effectively and realistically with this crowd conflict? Because that's just the unknown environment.
It is the unknown, and I think as comedians, that's another part of who you are. You got to decide when you go on stage, and another reason why I kind of pay attention beforehand. What kind of crowd is this? What am I walking into? And how would I handle a heckler? So I've had a couple. I've only had one. He wasn't really bad. He was the worst heckler that I've dealt with, but he wasn't like, I've seen comedians actually have to swing on somebody because they actually came on stage, right? I haven't had any of that. But I have had people trying to be loud and stuff. And so I tell people my thing with that is I can tell them, look, you can either enjoy the show or become the show. I'm giving you the opportunity. That's what I say when I find somebody who's dealing with that. Cause I mean, I'm in Memphis and I don't know if you know much about Memphis's culture, but checking or roasting that's the thing. So if you check somebody in the audience or roast them, some folks will be like, hey, now get on you. And then they'll start trying to roast you back. And it's like, I got the microphone. Do you want to enjoy the show? You want to be part of the show? And sometimes them folks can get, but my goal, I never want to be the comic that has said something to somebody that's so offensive or so out of pocket that they want to try to fight me or come on stage or never come back to my show. I don't want to lose people. But if you're heckling and you going to the extreme, I no longer care about any of that. I'm going to decimate you, and I don't care if you ever come back to anything I do. You're one person at this point, and that, you've earned this after I've said, hey, do you want to enjoy the show or be part of the show? If you continue on after that point, I'm no longer responsible for what's about to happen to you.
When people show up, they have almost like a ownership. Well, I paid to be here and I'm going to make it my time. They're oblivious to the fact that there's 119 other people in the room who just want to have a date night or a fun night out. and not have all the air taken out of the room because this person decides to raise an issue with you or burn time. So what's the average stage time that you have? Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
I would say I'm at a 10-minute mark now. When I first started, it was 3, 5, constantly 3 to 5, but now I'm at 10 plus, depending on what kind of show it is. Because some shows, they only want folks to do 10. I have enough material where I could do an hour, but I'm not at, I can make some, in my opinion, I'm not at, I can make people laugh constantly for an hour yet. I think I can get there, but I'm not there yet. So 10, I've done 20, 25 actually. Have you seen the movie The Blind Side?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually did a private show for the actual person that the movie was about, the NFL. He had a private show. It was a New Year's Eve party, and I ended up doing 25 minutes. I didn't even know. I just was just was going till they gave me the light, and they could just let me go. And I was like, man, you just did 25. 25? I did 25? It didn't even feel like 25, but I want to be in that element where if I'm up here 40, 45 minutes or whatever, and everything's just flowing, I don't even know unless I like time to set. I didn't have 25 prepared, but I had 25 prepared. If they tell me I'm going to do 10, I always prepare for 15. No, I always prepare for 10 more minutes than what they tell me, just in case. I've run into situations where the headliner didn't show, or the headliner's plane didn't come. So I don't want to be in a position where I'm not ready if an opportunity presents itself. Because like I said, I like to over prepare for things. So yeah, I had the 25, but I didn't come to do 25. They told us it was going to do like 7 to 10. So it worked out.
I think it works out too, the diversity of knowledge that you have. You can talk about gaming or pop culture or the weather, whatever that thing is that you want to nerd out about, you can just talk. And you don't necessarily have to be funny every second, but as long as you lead to something that's funny, I think people feel like they've gotten the value of being there with you.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a weather nerd too, so it's funny you should say weather.
Did you grow up with your grandparents watching the Weather Channel, or you just kind of had a interest in it?
No, I just had an interest in it because I'm again from Illinois, and part of where I was from is where it's Tornado Alley. So now they kind of don't let them go to school when tornadoes are happening, but they would just be like, okay, we're doing a tornado drill, line up in the hallway. We just lay it up and sit and it just little up like a turtle shell, and in my head I'm like, this ain't gonna do nothing. If this tornado come through this thing, well, it's over with. So, but yeah, I grew up with those drills, but I always wanted to know weather and clouds, and then in my ninth grade science teacher, I guess, is what kind of got me into it. But every day that I had his class, we would go out, we would look at the clouds in the sky and discuss them, or the weather fronts coming through. We would do that every time we had class, weather permitting, to talk about clouds, and it interests me to know cloud formations and fronts and weather patterns and all of that kind of stuff. So my youngest child actually likes it too. So they had a unit on weather, and she was blowing the teacher away because she knew all this stuff that the teacher didn't even know. So
when I was a kid growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, there was a really famous weatherman, and he would read kids' letters on the air or answer their questions. And I think I was probably about 8 or 9, and I sent a letter to this guy named Joel Bartlett. And the question was, where do storms go when they're done? What happens? And he read my letter on the air, and I felt like such a celebrity. I went to school the next day and like, hey, did you hear Joel talking to me on the news last night? And those times back in the 80s, that's when all the families would sit together and have dinner and then watch the 6 o'clock news. And it was really cool just to kind of have that little moment of recognition, and maybe that fed the ego a little bit, but it was awesome just to get that and hear just the science. I'm a curious mind. I'm always digging into something and loving this, but that's awesome that you're a weather guy, and might as well, you were surrounded by it. It's no reason to be ignorant
all the time. Right.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the inspiration and resources that you have. Is there something that you wish you would have done a little earlier, either in your career or as a student, that may have prepared you to become a professional comedian or a stage performer?
I think doing what I love to do. When I went to college, I didn't do any acting or but I think that would help me with skitting, and also more networking. Because when I jumped into the skit world, when I started doing skits and sketches and stuff, didn't really network with people. And I found that like I've networked with comedians and stuff now, and I found people I can do skits and sketches with. And my goal here is to get back into doing that because I have written a lot of skits and sketches that I have not done at all. It's just there. But I think the networking and had I continued in the realm of acting and that thing, it would have led to, I don't know, maybe I would have made it already. But creator has a time and purpose for everyone, I think. So maybe it just wasn't for me to do that then. But I don't know. But that's one thing I wish I had done differently.
Comes down to right place and right time. So you referenced networking earlier. Are there groups that you get together with on a regular basis, sort of like a comedians community or group, or you just sort of gather up and talk shop?
Yeah, sometimes we gather up and talk shop. Sometimes we have writing sessions and bounce ideas off each other. We need to have more of those, but yeah, it happens. And then on Facebook, we have different groups and even chats that we get in and kind of talk about stuff there. I want more of a weekly or monthly or bi-weekly community because it ends up being monthly or every other month or every other month. So, because life happens and the people I'm with now or hang around now, the comics I know, nobody's doing this full time because they hadn't made enough money to be able to leave their daytime. So we all have different schedules, but maybe one of us can make it and bring the rest of us along, like an Adam Sandler or Kevin Hart situation. I don't know. It would be great. But as of right now, the community, we do what we can when we can.
Help each other get gigs, maybe kind of vouch for somebody if they reach out
Hmm.
and say, "Oh, I'm about to book Eclectic Enigma. What do you know about him? Have you seen him? Can you vouch for him? Is he worth booking?" I think there's probably that feeling that everybody's sort of watching out for each other. It's a competition. Ultimately, it's getting attention, it's finding your way. And some people I
Hmm.
think may probably borrow from you without knowing or talk you down a little bit. I imagine there's probably some people who, after a while, you just sort of know are professional poison, right? This is just
Yes.
nature of the industry, right?
And sometimes it don't even take after a while. Sometimes it's like you immediately meet somebody and like, okay, I think I'm at that point now. It's like, all right, this person ain't, or man, this person's amazing. You kind of get a sense of how it is. Cause unfortunately in the comedy community, especially in Memphis, man, you got folks that are here to help everybody and to try to build each other up. And cause it's a community and, almost like a fraternity because we'll say, my comedy frat in a minute, but then there are people who they're all about themselves. They will talk down about you. They will try to let other outside entities know they don't do this with such and such. And I'm not here for any of that messy stuff. That's just, I've never been a messy person. I mean, you've known me long enough or at least on the book to know that I get on there and crack jokes, but I'm not messy. I'm not getting on there being messy. I just don't do that kind of thing.
You have to be just generally good. Good things come to those who are also good to others. I think that goes a little bit back to what we're talking about, just our core, why we do what we do. You provide for your family, you make people laugh, you lift them up. There's just that inspiration that you have to change somebody's, even the minute right there for the better. So tell me a little bit about the impact of modern technology on the world of comedy, or at least from what you can see. One of the things I'd like to just kind of bring up as we go is, where does AI fit into all this? Because humans know what's funny, and AI, like you were mentioning earlier about just being so robotic in the sales cycle, what does that look like as far as technology and how that layers in? Are there any apps that you use to track your writing? Do you sort of rate what you've done to keep a library or retired jokes? Is there anything that you use in technology?
Technology is amazing and it's a nightmare when it comes to what I do. You've seen viral videos of some AI or whatever doing XYZ. Now I'm starting to see people are taking actual human done things and getting AI to redo them with that person's voice and actions. At first I was like, oh, this is hilarious. But then it's like, wait a minute. You just took somebody's work and with an app and a blink, you've made their stuff yours and you just stolen from that particular person. One guy, Memphis, they got something called juking, which is a dance type that they do. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but he did a whole little dance and somebody used AI and took his dance and made an old black guy do it. And it was done really well. It was hard to tell it was AI, but like his hand disappeared at one point. I was like, okay, this is AI. This ain't even him. And the creator got on and was like, hey, these are my movements. And he put his video on top of the other one and it was his movements. But
Hmm.
people in the comments were like, oh, you just trying to steal from this old man. And it's getting scary that people either don't care that this is AI or don't know it's AI. And even though it is AI, they don't care because they like the old man video better than your video. But the old man video wouldn't exist without what you did because this is exactly what you did. And I'm finding that in comedy, they're taking clips of comedians doing stuff and throwing AI to it. Like they got little baby AI babies where it's a cute little baby saying the funny thing that the comedian said. And it's like people are just taking what creators have done. So I don't like that aspect of it. But then on my own personal going along with this whole thing, it's like I'm able to do notes, voice notes. If I'm driving and something hits me, because sometimes someone just hit me out of the blue and I'm like, okay, I'll do a voice note and it'll transcribe it. I got an app to transcribe it on my Samsung phone. I got apps to edit videos on the go. I got an S Pen on my phone I can use. The cameras on these phones have gotten so good that you don't need a point and shoot. It allows us to have meetings like this, like we do Zoom meetings with like comics or podcasts, and we're nowhere near each other. Just there's a lot of aspects to it that help what I do, and because I'm techie anyway, I'm all into these things. Cell text is one. I got Adobe Suite where I do the whole Adobe Premiere to help with things that I'm doing. And as you pointed out, I have some jokes where I kind of rank them like, okay, this can be reworked. This is okay. This is really, really good and I don't need to touch it. Those are kind of where I'm at with jokes. And like this one's brand new and I need to go to some open mics and kind of work this out. But I have all these in my notes and if I ever lost my notes, I would cry. Like I'm not even crying, but I would literally cry because I'll forget I said something or did something or wrote something and I go back and it's like, whoa, all right. Because I was listening to Seinfeld talk about how he'll work on a joke for a year before he brings it out. In my head, that's crazy, but there should be a point where it shouldn't take you a year to get something out. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's how I think. Like, if you're funny, then the whole year, because I mean, you only got so many years, right? Like, it's only so many Saturdays in your existence before it's like you ain't got no more Saturdays and you taking a whole year for a joke. That's wild to me, but that's his process. And I don't know how many jokes he's made where he might make 50 jokes and it took a year for all 50 and here they are. He didn't say, but everybody has a process of mine. It's like, okay, I'm open mic it or with my job, I'll do it to customers. Like they don't even know. And I got this from Kevin Hart actually, but they don't even know that I'm trying material. I'm just talking and that's how I've come up with some jokes, just simply trying the material on the customer and they not knowing that I'm trying material on them. So I think I went left with what you asked me, but yes, I use, I use a lot of apps and technology is a gift and a curse.
There's the old notebook that somebody would carry around. I noticed on stage too, there are some comedians, even on the national level, that carry around just a notepad with them or a stack of post-it notes. Is
Mhm.
that something that's just generally accepted now? If you're going to be running a joke and you've built in, it's in your head, does it feel kind of like cue cards when somebody's up there with a book or the index cards?
Yeah, depending on the venue, I guess is what I would say. I've seen open mic, of course, is where you would definitely have those things. Like nobody, I think, has any question or is shunning you for doing that. But if I'm at a show and you keep glancing at your phone while you're on stage or you're picking up your notebook and this is an actual show or a paid gig, I'm like, what are you doing? I don't get it. And even for me at open mics, I don't use that stuff. I go ahead before I get on stage with it. I've kind of worked it out and I have it in my head and I want to be able to do it without any notes. So I don't bring any when I'm doing it because I've already kind of worked it out. I drive a lot for work, so I'm constantly running things through as I'm driving for me and I don't get on stage with those. And I personally look, there's folks doing regular shows to do it. And there are seasoned comics that do the same thing. But I think amongst the younger people, it's accepted because you got rappers. Because when I was growing up, rappers would spit a hot 16 or whatever. They ain't got nothing. They ain't bringing no notebook to the booth. They're literally just there rapping. But now you got Drake going in the booth with a cell phone and they're literally just spitting from phones now. So I think because of the way technology is, people are more accepting of it, especially the younger generation. But like for me, depending on where we are, I'm looking at you like, okay, because I was at a show where Headliner did that. He made it look like he was getting texts on his phone, but nobody believed him. We knew he was going back to his material, and toward the end, he's like, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was going on my phone because I kept forgetting what I had to say. And in my hand, I'm like, bro, you the headliner, they giving you 15 minutes to do your set. You couldn't be ready for 15 minutes?
It feels almost like a point of respect to
Yeah,
the
for the
audience,
craft.
venue, to the fellow comedians. When you are getting set up with a show or just about ready to do a show, do you have an agent that you work through? Do you have representation? Is there more like a collective where it helps sort of open doors for you?
I don't have an agent yet because I can't afford one. I want one. I'm not there yet. I would really like to be there, but I'm not there. So I'm just going to keep pushing. But I advocate for myself. I've taken some classes and workshops that a guy gave us, just a template that we could kind of tweak ourselves, like a contract. He was giving us the importance of contracts, and he was just saying he was a poet. And he's like, hey, when I first started, I didn't know the importance of this. And you might be doing a show for free, but you need to have a contract to say, hey, I'm doing this for free, not getting paid. But if you decide you want to use my material for your website or whatever, then you have to pay me to use my material. And he got done wrong because he did a poem, it went viral, and he didn't get paid from it. And the guy who posted the video, he said it had like 7 million views or something. And he was like, the guy made X amount of money off his video. And he's like, hey, you need to, he tried to take him to court and he lost because he didn't have a contract about what to be able to do with his material. So that was an eye-opening class. Because I would have thought with free, if I'm doing this for free, ain't no big deal. But he's like, no, cover yourself all the way. If they have a problem signing the contract, don't do business with them. Because if you're doing something for free for somebody and they don't want to sign a contract, hey, you're doing this for free, but you can't use my stuff unless you're going to pay me, then they're not reputable people and you don't want to deal with them anyway. He's telling us ways he's got burned, and I just like, wow, this is really eye-opening. So as of right now, my agent is me, my creator is me, my writer is me,
Your editor,
my videographer is me. But I want a team, and I'll get there as I continue going on in this journey. I know I will. I'm speaking it into the atmosphere, into existence. But right now, all me.
Well, and that's one of the great things I like to do with this podcast too, is give you some exposure in maybe areas, regions, segments that you normally wouldn't be able to be in or hear from. So as the title indicates, is there something that you wish you would have known before you started this, whether it's preparation or just the long hours and family life balance, or what's something that you wish you would have known before you embarked on this?
I guess how hard it is to continually do this and be in this and have not made it when you see somebody who posts something that's not funny and they got more views than you. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The other day on my feed in Facebook, 10-second video of somebody hitting a nail with a hammer. It had like 1 million views, right? It was the most boring and dumb video, but somehow it came across my feed. I sat there and I stopped watching it. I went to the comments and be like, I just wasted 15 seconds of my life, but it has 1 million views. I put out something that I poured my heart into, and I might have 1,000 views or less. And sometimes it's like, wow. But then as I've gone into this and I've learned about how there are bot farms where people will use these farms to get views on all this. And it's like, you don't even know what's real anymore. This is really 1 million views, or did they bot farm it or whatever the heck? So I guess I wish I had learned early on to stay in my lane, not compare myself to others, because you don't know if what they're doing is genuine or made up. And even though I hadn't made it yet, continue to push. Because even though I've won some contests and I did a show with Joe Torre, I don't know if you know him, was a host of Def Jam's comedy show. He was the actual host.
Okay.
I was on a show with him. I've been at shows with other people who are bigger names, but you still get to this point where it's like, man, I've done it with these people, but I hadn't made it. But there's a time, your season is coming and you just got to keep pushing. So the last, I don't know, 6, 8 months, I really hadn't done much. Just haven't been motivated. And it's because I've been doing this for a minute and hadn't got to where I think I should be. And I'm at the place now where I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Just keep going. I'm gonna keep pushing. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vee.
Oh yeah.
He was talking about his YouTube channel, how he would post and get like 5 views, and he would post it for some years, and it's like he just kept posting it, and one day this video blew up, and then from then on, and you just never know what's gonna be to put you there, or what video is gonna make it happen, or what joke or whatever. So I'm getting back into who I am. I'm a funny guy, and I gotta continue to put out material and stuff because we're a consumption culture. So I wish I had known to just stay in my race and keep going because your work will show for itself.
There's a pretty famous quote that comparisons are thieves of joy. And I think that's really appropriate to the idea of staying confident and motivated. So do you have a quote or a saying that keeps you going?
I would say there was a quote that I actually got from a funeral, and that funeral was my wife's uncle. So one of his fraternity brothers got up and said there were 2 rules to life, and he said the first rule is don't sweat the small stuff, and the second rule is it's all small stuff. And I was like, whoa. And I started thinking about what he said and analyzing it. I was like, wait a minute, this man is actually right. It's even if it seems big, it's all really small stuff. We sweat and worry about things, but everybody goes through everything. You're gonna have somebody you lose. You're gonna stub a toenail. Somebody's gonna hit your car. Hail's gonna damage. Like everybody goes through the same kind of stuff. In the end, all be all, it is all small stuff. So that kind of sticks with me. And then the other one is, I know you said 1, but 2, keep living. And my stepdad used to say that. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It's like, what? Keep living? I'm planning to. I plan to keep living.
What's the alternative?
Hey, I don't want to do don't keep living. So, but as I've gotten older, keep living is something else to think about. It's 2 words, but it means a whole lot. As you continue to keep living, you'll see, kind of goes back to the first quote, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. You're going to have so many experiences in life, and so many things are going to happen, and so many things are going to change. I'm 44 now this month, and 35 was not 44, and 25 wasn't 35 and not 44. Like everything continues to go on. So no matter what's going on, you got to keep living. And I'm just trying to live the best I can and enjoy this thing while I'm here.
It's all relative because living, just the whole idea of drawing breath and existing with a pulse is one thing. And maybe as kids, that's all we just think about. Like, well, okay, what's the opposite of? And as we get older, get a family, get priorities and all that, then just becomes okay, living is enjoyment or surrounding yourselves with people that like you or love you or somebody that you can leave your mark on, leave a legacy. And
yeah, somebody said, and I don't remember who I got this from, but they said, live while you're living. And You're right. I mean, you need to live while you're living. We go through things, and some people let everything just kind of bring them down. And nah, I'm not going to sweat this small stuff, and I'm going to keep living,
So from that young mindset, when somebody said, okay, just keep living, and you rolled your eyes, back then, when you were, let's say, 10, was there something that you or somebody that you wanted to be or emulate, or I want to be that? For me, it was an artist for Mad Magazine, a guy named Sergio Aragones. He just did these little illustrations that you usually found in the margin of the pages. Wild, free, quick, but funny, without even saying a word. So was there something that you aspired to be when you were about 10?
I was huge with sports. I wrestled in high school, played football, played basketball. I did track, shot and disc. Like I'm a sports dude, right? I never really talk about that stuff either, but growing up around that age, I wanted to be Michael Jordan. I grew up in a Chicago area, really close to Chicago, and the Bulls were the Bulls. Everybody loved the Bulls except the teams that had to face the Bulls.
Yeah, the
So
Pistons.
yeah, Pistons, the Indiana Pacers, anybody in the East, they all hated. Yeah, the Knicks, he kept Ewing from getting the ring pretty much, but
The
I want to be
Jazz.
Michael Jordan. I really loved hooping and I used to hoop. Oh my God. So I would hoop. I would get up and hoop from sun up to sundown. And after hooping, I would play video games. That was my kid life. Besides, I would read too. So I wanted to be Michael Jordan and I also wanted to be Mike Singletary, middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears. He was a monster. Just, I mean, he was that guy, that dude, and the way he would hit people, like, I want to hit people like that. I want to be like Mike Singletary. So those are the two guys I wanted to be. And if I'm being honest, I wanted to be like Eddie Murphy too. Dude was funny on stand up and he was funny. His movies, people still quote his movies today. Like they literally will quote Eddie Murphy movies 20, 30 years later, if not more. I'm old, so and 1980 doesn't seem that far away. And it actually was, or 90, even 2000. It's like, whoa, 2000 was 26 years ago now. It still sinks in that it was that long ago, but people still quote Eddie Murphy stuff. Like, so
I can't
I wanted to,
hear Otis Redding's Sitting on the Dock of the Bay without singing it like he would. And I was trying to reference it with my wife about a month or so ago, and she's younger than I am. And she's like, but it's funny, watching the ship in and watch him roll away again. Lillian, like, come on, laugh. And she's like, I don't get it. Just that reference of comedy all the way through history. Some things are just plain funny. So speaking of just plain funny, I have a quick sort of would you rather sort of lightning
okay.
round question for you. So you're in a car with the windows rolled up and you can't touch the buttons or the handle. Would you rather smell the fart of someone you love or the perfume of someone you hate, or cologne of someone you hate?
Cologne and perfume with someone I hate. Even though I love you, I don't want to smell. I don't want to smell farts of someone I love. Because even though you have the perfume, other people wear it too. So yeah, I would much rather smell that.
That's awesome. So as we wrap things up, how do people get a hold of you? I know you're on a variety of platforms, but if somebody just were to look you up right now as they're listening, what platforms are you on? How can we get you in front of people?
They can go and find anything I've done is under Off the Porch Group. So all spelled proper, Off the Porch Group on every platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff is under there. I have a group, and even though we aren't functional right now, they're still my guys that we kind of did all the skits and stuff together. I own the name Off the Porch Group, and everything is under there. So my personal stuff is Eclectic Enigma 1 on IG. And so if you want to follow my IG, that my personal IG, but everything's on both. So if you go to Off the Porch Group, you'll see all my stuff and some stand up and skits and sketches and stuff from there. So,
well, thanks for spending the afternoon with us. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I think a lot
I
of people
did.
are going to get a lot from your experience. And like I said, I'm going to link from the description to get them in touch with you. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks for joining the WIWHK podcast.
Thanks for having me, and you have a wonderful day too.
Wish I would have known.